Hi all, this is Padma Priya. I am from Avinashalingam Deemed University. So today we are going to see about cognitive therapy. Introduction. Cognitive therapy, a system developed by Aaron Beck, 1960, stresses the significance of thoughts and belief systems in influencing the feeling and behavior. Human beings have cognitions. We can think, we can process information coming in through our five senses, and we make interpretations, inferences and evaluations about that information. In this way we interact with our environment. These cognitions are believed to be linked to feelings, behavior and physiology. Thus, if a situation is perceived as a threat by someone, adrenaline will be released into the body, increasing the heart and breathing rates. The person will feel fear and will react. The cognitions are available to our conscious minds. We can think about our thoughts and therefore we can change them. Cognitive therapy is based on the cognition model, which we have seen relates the way we think to our emotions and behaviors. The focus of cognitive therapy is on understanding distorted beliefs and using techniques to change maladaptive thinking, while also incorporating affective and behavioral methods. In the therapeutic process, attention is paid to the thoughts that individuals may be unaware of and to important belief systems. Working collaboratively with clients, cognitive therapists take an educational role, helping clients understand distorted beliefs and suggesting methods for changing these beliefs. So now we can see the objectives of learning cognitive therapy. Define terms specific to transactional analysis. Learn and apply principles, strategies of transactional analysis. Discuss the goals of transaction analysis therapeutic approaches. To learn the language and concepts underlying transaction analysis. To analyze our relationship with one another in terms of transaction analysis. History of transaction analysis. Aaron Beck had noticed that the dreams and thoughts of his depressed clients were focused on unrealistic negative ideas, and in 1963 and 1964 published two seminal papers on the relationship between thinking and depression. He analyzed the dreams and psychotherapeutic, found evidence of negative bias in their thinking. He later called this bias the negative cognitive triad, that is, depressed people typically have negative view of themselves, the world and the future. Beck hypothesized that depression was a form of thought disorder and concluded that psychoanalytic theory was inadequate to account for his findings. Over the next decade, Beck extended his ideas to other psychological disorders, in particular anxiety. In 1976, he published Cognitive Therapy and Emotional Disorders, in which he described his model of cognitive processing and therapy, which focused on teaching his clients to identify and change their thought patterns. Since then, Beck's original model has been extended and adapted to the treatment of all forms of psychological problems, including depressions, anorexia, phobias, schizophrenia, chronic fatigue syndrome, and tinnitus. In Britain, researchers such as Blackburn, Teasdale and Clare have developed and evaluated Beck cognitive therapy, and in the USA, his daughter Judith has extended his ideas. Beck therapy is the most evidence-based, influential and the popular of cognitive approaches in use today. So let's see about the key concepts in the formation of psychological disorders. The first one is the formation of psychological disorders. As Beck said, psychological distress can be caused by a combination of biological, environmental and social factors interacting in a way of ways so that there is rarely a single cause for a disorder. Sometimes early childhood events may lead to later cognitive distortions. Lack of experience and training may lead to ineffective or maladaptive ways of thinking, such as setting unrealistic goals or making inaccurate assumptions. Regardless of the cause of the psychological disturbance, automatic thought are likely to be a significant part of the processing of the perceived distress. The second one is foundation of cognitive development. Cognitive therapists view individual beliefs as beginning in early childhood and developing through life. Early childhood experience lead to basic beliefs about oneself and one's world. Normally, individuals experience support and love from parents, which in turn lead to positive views of themselves in adulthood, and those with healthy functionings negative experience in their lives that may lead to beliefs such as I am unlovable and I am inadequate. These development experiences, along with the critical incidents and traumatic experiences, influences belief systems, and the negative experience such as being ridiculed by a teacher may lead to conditional beliefs such as if others don't like what I do, I am not valuable. Such beliefs may become basic to the individual as negative cognitive schemas. The third one is automatic thoughts. As mentioned previously, the automatic thoughts is a key concept in Beck's cognitive psychotherapy. Such thoughts occur spontaneously without effort or choice. In psychological disorders, automatic thoughts are often distorted, extreme, or otherwise inaccurate. The fourth one is cognitive schemas. How individuals think about their world and their important beliefs and assumptions about people, events, and the environment constitute schemas. There are two basic types of cognitive schemas, the positive, that is the adaptive one, and the negative, the maladaptive one. What can be an adaptive schema in one situation may be maladaptive in another. Schemas develop early in life from personal experience and interactions with others. Some of the schemas are associated with cognitive vulnerability or a predisposition to a psychological distress. The fifth one is cognitive distortions. An individual's important beliefs or schemas are subjected to cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions appear when information processing is inaccurate or ineffective. Several significant cognitive distortions that can be identified in the thought process of depressed people. Common cognitive distortions that can be found in different psychological disorders are dichotomous thinking, selective abstraction, arbitrary inference, catastrophizing, overgeneralizations, labeling and mislabeling, magnifications or minimizations and personalizations. So let's see about dichotomous thinking. By thinking that something has to be either exactly as we want it or it is a failure, we are engaging in all or nothing or dichotomous thinking. Selective aberrations. Sometimes individuals pick out an idea or fact from an event to support their depressed or negative thinking. Arbitrary inference. Referring to coming to a conclusion that contradicts or is not supported by evidence or facts. Arbitrary inference are of two types, mind reading and negative predictions. Mind reading refers to the idea that we know what another person is thinking about us. Negative predictions means that an individual believes that something bad is going to happen, although there is no evidence to support this. Thus, both mind reading and negative predictions involve making negative inference based on lack of attentions to and distortions of available data. Catastrophizing. In this cognitive distortions, individuals take one event that they are concerned about and exaggerate it so that they become fearful. Overgeneralizations. Making a rule based on a few negative events, individuals distort their thinking through overgeneralizations. The next is labeling and mislabeling. The negative view of oneself is created by self-labeling based on some errors and mistakes. The next one is magnifications or minimizations. Cognitive distortions can occur when individuals magnify imperfections or minimize good points. The next one is personalizations. Taking an event that is unrelated to the individual and making it meaningful produces the cognitive distortions of personalizations. If they occur frequently, such cognitive distortions can lead to psychological distress or disorders. Making inference and drawing conclusions from behavior are an important part of human functionings. Individuals must monitor what they do and assess the likelihood of outcomes to make plans about their social lives, romantic lives, and careers. When there are frequent cognitive distortions, individuals can no longer do this successfully and may experience depressions, anxiety, or other disturbances. Cognitive therapists look for cognitive distortions and help their parents understand their mistakes and make changes in their thinking. Now we can see the process of cognitive therapy. First, the goals of therapy. The basic goals of cognitive therapy is to remove biases or distortions in thinking so that individuals may function more effectively. Attention is paid to the way individuals process information, which may maintain feelings and behaviors that are not adaptive. Patients' cognitive distortions are challenged, tested, and discussed to bring about more positive feelings, behavior, and thinking. In establishing goals, cognitive therapists focus on being specific, prioritizing goals, and working collaboratively with clients. The goals may have affective, behavioral, and cognitive components. The clearer and more concrete goals, the easier it is for the therapist to select methods to use in helping the individuals change their belief systems and also their feelings and behaviors. And the second one in the process of therapy is the assessment in cognitive therapy. Careful attention is paid to assessment of client problems and cognitions, both at the beginning of therapy and throughout the entire process, in order that the therapist may clearly conceptualize and diagnose the client's problem. As assessment proceeds, it focuses not only on the specific thoughts, feelings, and behaviors of the client, but also on the effectiveness of therapeutic techniques as they affect these thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. In this section, the various assessment techniques used by cognitive therapists are client interviews, self-monitoring, thought sampling, and self-report questionnaires. The various assessment techniques. The first one is the interview. In the initial evaluation, the cognitive therapist may wish to get an overview of a variety of topics, while at the same time creating a good working relationship with the clients. The topics covered are a developmental history, past traumatic experience, medical and psychiatric history, and the client goals. Open-ended questions are used to yield more accurate information. The second questionnaire is self-monitoring. Self-monitoring is used for assessing client thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Clients keep a record of events, feelings, and thoughts. This could be done in a diary, on an audio tape, or by filling out questionnaire. Thought sampling. Inspecting the tone, sound at a random interval at home, and then recording thoughts in one way to get a sample of cognitive patterns. Clients may then recording thoughts is one way to get a sample of books. Thought sampling can be useful in getting data that is related to specific situations such as work and school. Scales and questionnaires. In addition to these techniques, previously developed self-report questionnaires or rating scales can be used to assess irrational beliefs, self-statements, or cognitive distortions. And the next is the therapeutic process. Cognitive therapy is structured in its approach. The initial sessions or sessions deals with assessments of the problems, development of a collaborative. The initial session or sessions deals with assessment of the problem, development of a collaborative relations, and a case conceptualizations. As therapy progresses, a guided discovery approach are used to help the clients learn about their inaccurate thinking. Other important aspects of the therapeutic process are methods to identify automatic thoughts and the assignments of homework, which is done throughout the therapy. As clients reach their goal, termination is planned and the clients work on how they will use what they have learned when therapy was stopped. As therapeutic work progresses, clients move from developing insight into their beliefs to moving towards changes. The next is therapeutic techniques used by cognitive therapists. A wide variety of cognitive techniques are used in helping clients achieve their goals. Some of the techniques focus on eliciting and challenging automatic thoughts, others on maladaptive assumption or ineffective cognitive schemas. The general approach in cognitive therapy is not to interpret automatic thoughts or irrational beliefs, but to examine them through either experimentations or logical analysis. The next is understanding idiosyncratic meaning. Often, it is not enough for the therapist to assume that they know what the clients mean by certain words. For example, depressed people are often likely to use vague words such as upset, loser, depressed, or suicidal. Integration of interrogations helps both therapist and the client to understand the client's thinking process. The next is challenging absolutes. Clients often present their distress through making extreme statements such as everyone at work is smarter than I am. Often it is helpful for the therapist to question or challenge the absolute statement so that it can be presented more accurately by the client. The next is in reattribution. Clients may attribute responsibility for situations or events to themselves when they have little responsibility for the event. Using the technique of reattribution, therapists help clients fairly distribute responsibility for an event. And the next is labeling of distortions. Dictomous thinking, overgeneralizations, labeling such distortions can be helpful to clients in categorizing automatic thoughts that interfere with their reasoning. Decatastrophizing. Clients may be very afraid of an outcome that is unlikely to happen. The next is challenging dictomous thinking. Sometimes clients describe things as all or nothing or as all black or white. The listing advantages and disadvantages. Sometimes it is helpful for the patient to write down the advantages and disadvantages of their particular beliefs or behaviors. Cognitive rehearsal. Use of imagination in dealing with upcoming events can be helpful. Now we can see the treatment of psychological disorders using cognitive therapy. Cognitive therapists have probably developed explanations and specific treatments for most psychological disorders, particularly two disorders, that is the depressions and the generalized anxiety. They have provided a detailed approach to treatment and have been able to test these approaches through the application of outcome research. The type of cognitive distortions that patients experience can vary within each disorder. The first one is the overview of cognitive therapy. Cognitive therapy is based on the formulation that how one thinks largely determines how one feels and behaves. Therapy is a collaborative process of empirical investigation. Experimentation, reality testing, and collaborative problem solving between therapist and client. The client's maladaptive conception, interpretations, and conclusions are subject to scientific scrutiny and hypothesis testing. Cognitive and behavioral experiments as well as verbal techniques are used to explore alternative interpretations and to generate contradictory evidence that supports more adaptive beliefs and leads to therapeutic change in the client. The second one is relaxation training and relaxation therapy. The development of effective relaxation strategies has played an important role in the emergence of cognitive therapy as a visible system of helping modern problems commonly amenable to remediation through relaxation training and relaxation therapy include stress, anxiety, physiological problems and pressures related to the workplace and fast pace of the modern lifestyles. One example of the effective use of relaxation therapy would be helping a client with no organic disorders whose presenting problem is headache and vomiting attributed to severe test anxiety. Relaxation therapy would be used to teach the client how to relax all the muscle groups and put the whole body in a state of complete physical relaxations. Relax mentally. Reduce anxiety while being totally relaxed. Keep out extraneous background cognitions while working on the test and anxiety. And use self-relaxation permanently to control not only test anxiety but other debilitating stresses as well. The theoretical principle underlying relaxation therapy is that it is not possible for the human organism to be in a state of complete physical relaxation and at the same time emotionally anxious. Thus, the therapist applying the cognitive strategy of relaxation assumes the client is physically relaxed in a way that associates the relaxed feeling and image with being cognitively relaxed in the examination room. Cognitive modeling. Cognitive modeling was developed by a number of therapists who wanted to find ways to help clients learn what to say to themselves to ensure that they would avoid self-defeating thoughts and behaviors while performing tasks that they want to complete. Cognitive modeling is a combination of overt and covert strategies. In a structured, systematic series of modeling episodes, the therapist usually employs 5 steps, such as those demonstrated in the following examples, to help the client learn and independently use cognitive modeling. Consider the example of a therapist helping a male graduate student overcome the fear and intimidation that keeps him from asking his advisory committee chair to step down so that he may acquire a different chair. Here the 5 steps of cognitive modeling are as follows. Therapist serves as a model, taking the role of the student. The client is instructed to perform the task as modeled by a therapist, while the therapist instructs the client aloud. The client is asked to perform the same task again while instructing himself aloud. The client whispers the instruction while performing the task of confronting the imaginary advisory chair. And the client performs the task while instructing himself covertly. In the final step, the student confronts his advisory chair entirely by himself and in a purely cognitive mode. The next one is covert modeling. Covert modeling has been used extensively to teach clients mentally to envision a model, preferably themselves performing a imaginary task, successfully accomplishing a desired goal. Covert modeling provides a variety of effective, efficient and creative ways to help clients visualize themselves engaging in positive and successful actions. It is similar to cognitive modeling, except that the client does not model or perform overtly. All the steps of the modeling, which are similar to the steps in cognitive modeling, are described aloud by the therapist, with the client relaxed and being verbally instructed to imagine the scenes of the therapist's presence. And the next therapy is thought stopping. Thought stopping has been widely used to help clients control unproductive, debilitating and self-defeating thoughts and images through both sudden and progressively systematic elimination of maladaptive thoughts and emotions. The procedures involves instructing clients to focus on the unwanted thoughts trial. After several days of practice, the client can maintain control covertly by shouting stop each time the unwanted thoughts occur as soon as the client becomes familiar enough with the strategy to exercise self-control autonomously. He or she is given homework assignments of practicing self-control through thought stopping in situations outside therapy. And the last cognitive therapy is neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro-linguistic programming is also called as NLP, is the name derived from a communication theory, whereby people wield 5 sensory channels referred to as a representational system to process information. These channels are termed as visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory and gustatory. For communication and therapy process, the visual, auditory and kinesthetic channels are the most important. Neuro-linguistic program is a powerful tool for the therapist to use in effectively establishing rapport and maintaining an empathetic relationship with clients. When the therapist can identify and utilize the sensory channels that the client predominantly uses, he or she can match or pace the client's inner experience. For example, different clients might use different predicate verbs to indicate sensory ways of communicating their inner experience. The first one is visual, I see that. Auditory, I hear that. Kinesthetic, I feel that. Langton notes that the therapist who can match the predicates of clients will literally be speaking the client's language. NLP can be effectively used to pace the client's verbal and non-verbal cues, thus allowing the therapist to understand more fully the client. Pacing involves synchrony between the therapist and the client's verbal and non-verbal behavior. Conclusions developed by Aaron Beck from his observation about the impact of patients' belief systems on their psychological functioning. Cognitive therapy examines the effect of maladaptive thinking on psychological disorders, while at the same time acknowledging the importance of affect and behavior on psychological functioning. As cognitive therapy has developed, it has continued to draw on psychological research into individuals' belief systems, as well as on the study of how people process information from their environment. Cognitive therapy has been used with all ages, from children to the elderly. Beck reports that several controlled studies have shown it to be at least as effective as antidepressant medications in treating elderly depressed clients. Cognitive therapy has been used for group work with families. Some newer applications of cognitive therapy include working with clients with schizophrenia, post-traumatic stress disorders, substance abuse problems, hypertension and dissociative disorders, as well as with the clients who have committed sexual offenses such as exhibitionism and incest. Although the cognitive movement is relatively new, it is rapidly developing and has a great many adherents. Cognitive behavior therapy shows great promise as a methodology for therapists and other helpers. It can help clients with assorted problems to use the full power and potential of their minds to gain control of their thinking, emotions, and behavior.